going after city business, you can get a little extra help in that way. No detriment to your bottom line, but it's a way of supporting those individual Philadelphia-based businesses.
Right. Very important. We would agree.
And I think, you know, we're seeing the kind of spread of this. This is really, in a certain way, a cultural norm that we're trying to establish throughout the government, so that we don't have agencies like happened a couple of years ago, where an agency didn't know enough about its goals and its appropriate range setting. You know, and in the public, maybe in front of council or somewhere, somebody might say, well, why is that goal this way? Well, OEO told me, or I didn't talk to him, or it doesn't happen anymore. They understand that this is an agency responsibility. OEO is a tool to help them organize their thinking, get them appropriately ranged relative to the market that's out there, so that we're not creating unachievable goals, but we're putting some level of aspiration into this thing. And we see this sort of showing up. People are taking this seriously, and that's exactly what we want them to do.
Kevin, can I ask if this is the FY11 target, 25%, when will you know when the FY12, the fiscal year 12 target's available?
Yeah, we probably will know within 30 days. We are very, very, very close to that. We know we're in the 24.5% range right now, okay. But the final numbers are not coming in, and so we reserved pulling that number out because we know it. History shows that we can continue to go up, but also history shows that we might get big contracts that are just in that 56 million that there are no, and so that'll skew the number. So we're being a little bit cautious in that, but we're excited, and we hopefully will be able to do that in about 30 days.
Okay, that's great, because just from my perspective, managing the stimulus funds, you know, we do take this really, really seriously. So as soon as we can get the numbers out, then we can communicate that to people about what more they need to do and to think about.
Next piece about all the things that planning and zoning represent, the point here is their economic development tools. Because so many business transactions in the city have real estate consequences, the whole issue of predictability of the system and the simplification and bringing up to modern standards the rules is a very powerful thing. A lot of cities in this country are rewriting their zoning codes now. It's a large sort of cultural sweep of multiple decades of how zoning was done, you know, when it was sort of important to do, when it stopped being so important, and now systems are broken. So we're not the only ones. There's Baltimore, Washington, Chicago, Denver, Miami, a ton of places rewriting zoning codes. The thing that's interesting for us is that doing this in the context of a larger comprehensive plan and a kind of systematic approach to how we're going to implement zoning, as well as create a broader set of envisioning tools to help guide development in the city, has become one of the areas, along with sustainability, for example, that we get calls from other cities to find out what we're doing. I mean, it makes me feel great that we see all three out there, because clearly this kind of comprehensive approach is getting notice. Not an easy process. Quick statistic on zoning. I think the number is in the low 40 percentile. And Fran, if you remember differently, say so. Low 40% of building permits get refused of zoning permits get refused because they're not in conformance with our zoning code as it stands now. That's an ungodly high number. It is so far beyond what we're seeing in other cities.
What would you say? What 10%?
Well, I'll give you an example. New York City, 5 times our size, has the same number of zoning cases that we do. I don't remember what the number is. I just remember focusing on they're the same number.
Are you talking about cases over at the zoning board?
At the zoning board.
My recollection is that annually we usually have, I don't know, 1,500 or so some odd cases.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's an astonishing number.
95% of it.
It's an astonishing number.
It's a complete and utter waste of time.
And it's so, to get back to the point about there's a time sequence, for instance, to go to L&I, but an awful lot of these things are then refused and put into another system, and the system is wildly burdened. We have the wrong people making judgments about things that came from code that didn't make any sense. So the key thing is getting predictability in the system. That's everybody who works in real estate is most sensitive to, more than even than the time. I mean, they'll complain about the time too, but if you go out into the suburbs, typically, time sequences are often enormous, bigger than ours. But there is more predictability in how the system runs.
Are you going to utilize, in terms of the Philadelphia 2035, all the various plans, one of the things that we've observed over the past couple of years, at least through the Greenworks plan, there's an annual report,
Right.
there's an update. Again, just had the second annual report. I'm now trying to remember. The number is 84 or 80%, somewhere in that neighborhood of all the projects are either started or completed. Are you going to be able to do something somewhat similar?
Planning staff is, thank you for teeing that up.
Or Delaware River Waterfront, or
Planning staff is basically using the Greenworks model to create a kind of performance matrix of all the things that show up in the comprehensive plan, city vision, and then they're going to apply it also at the district level as these district plans take effect, so that annually we can update and say, this is the progress we've made on projects.
okay. And then you'll update that on an annual basis.
Yep, that's the idea.
Okay.
Last thing about, well, that isn't the last thing, but last thing in the original smart government, smart place, smart workforce, getting into the workforce. This is a pretty large topic. This particular measure is one that says that the workforce has a pretty good track record, like a very good track record, in placing workers who are then there for at least another 6 months. Now, whether that's the right measure or not, I don't know, and I'm not even sure where this criteria came from. But as you know, we're in the process of reorganizing the workforce system. Mm-hmm. It's under a lot of stress because of significant cuts in state funding. So, in a way, I mean, this is a good time to reorganize and hope that we can make some efficiencies happen here. The big struggle in the workforce system is to find a better way to link the training that they can provide with the jobs that are out there. And I think that's been the whole focus, the whole reason I think that we're, at your insistence, we're reorganizing this system to get it more tied into the business community.
Well, let's talk about the business side of this,
okay.
Which is how much outreach or how aggressive are we with the various businesses to make sure that the workforce side is in fact focused on at least the jobs that are either going to be around for a while or the jobs to come, as opposed to the ones that are slowly going away. And that we're actually preparing folks more for a career than just a job of the moment.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think we're not where we want to be yet on it. I mean, this reorganization is just now happening. It's happening under duress because of the significant cuts in the state budget, so just like we had to do over the last couple of years, right?
Although I want to...
Yeah.
We were going to change the system anyway.
We were going to change the system anyway.
The duress is coming from
the state.
The cuts.
Oh, yeah.
But we were going to change the system
We were changing the system years before the cuts became evident.
Right.
Thank you for clarifying.
But it just makes it that much.
Yeah, and this now just puts more stress in the system with new leadership there in Mark Edwards, who I think is really doing a wonderful job sort of trying to pull these pieces together now under the strain of a budget problem. But, so to your question, we are not where we want to be yet. We do not know enough about what the true needs are likely to be. And part of it is it's happening in an economic environment in which the need is suppressed. So to the extent that there might be more need, we're not knowing it because it's not out there. Second piece is that we have some very good stories to tell related to this connection. Jeff Bartos, the American head of the Mark Group, has great stories to tell about his intersection with the workforce system and it being able to deliver exactly what he needs. We need to replicate that at a much higher level. A lot of big companies don't turn to workforce because they are, in a certain sense, they have their own workforce system. right? They have their own measures, their own criteria, their own interviewing process. Sugar House Casino, good example. They have to hire 700 people out of the blue, and a very serious system, right? No shortage of people lining up at their door to get in.
But, I mean, isn't the great challenge, especially in this city, the enormous mismatch between jobs available? There are actually thousands of jobs available. And there are 3 times as many people looking for those jobs who unfortunately don't have the skill set to get that job.
Right.
I mean, that seems to be one of the biggest problems here in Philadelphia, is our lack of folks trying to get to work. And there is a lack of jobs, but there are some jobs. They just can't fill those jobs.
Right. Right. And I think you had asked today, or at least it came through Des, about current unemployment rate, 10.7% in Philadelphia. That's a bad number. Better than many cities, but still, I mean, on the whole, that's a bad number. But as you get below the surface and you start looking at what segments of our community and the unemployment rates there, in those places where the skill base is not high enough, where there's poverty, where there's undereducation, the numbers are much, much higher. And this is, I think, where we have to absolutely concentrate our efforts and finding the kind of businesses that provide the entry-level access to jobs. And this is why I think we need more. For example, we need more hotels. We need more hotels because we have a convention center that hopefully is going to drive that demand as well as the usual tourist and business demands. But we also need hotels because hotels and the businesses that support hotels are exactly the kind of jobs we need to make more of. And so I feel this very personal urgency about hotels, really because of the number of jobs created both in it, but also the restaurants that survive on the back of it, the taxi services, the laundry service, the whole thing.
But of course, we're not driving an either-or strategy. I mean,
That's right.
I want more hotels, and we actually need more hotels. We need about 2,000 more rooms to accommodate the amount of business that the expanded center is driving. But and those folks, that is a pretty decent career path through the hospitality sector. But I mean, let's never for a moment ignore our great strength: education, medicine, pharmaceuticals, life sciences, green economy, research, energy. Those are great jobs and help to bolster a city and an economy that, I think one of the first slides talked about the poverty rate here in the city. We can have, we can build 15 hotels. It's not necessarily going to, completely drive down that number the way we need it to. And so it's really on a continuum of entry level, middle, and constant search for the high-end jobs as well. It's a big enough city with enough infrastructure to accommodate all of that. And so the stuff that goes on out at Penn, Temple, Drexel, St. Joe's, Philly University, University of Sciences, I mean, all of those areas are major economic engines for the city of Philadelphia. Airport, paying attention to $5+ billion expansion project. It's going to be fantastic for us. Expansion of the port system here with the Southport project, activity on the waterfront, as well as a constant focus, as we talked about earlier, in the neighborhood commercial corridors. And all of this stuff has to happen at the same time, and then really a focus on entrepreneurship. And especially at a time of great economic stress, you're going to find a lot of folks trying to start that business, and we need to provide the services and figure out the capital access to support